The spotlight on pro athletes is, well, it's always intense, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But it just seems to crank up like another notch when they have a famous last name.
Oh, definitely.
Think about Bronny James. Just finished his rookie season with the Lakers,
Right.
even drafted late second round. The attention he gets,
Yeah.
it feels huge, almost blinding sometimes.
It really does. And you factor in LA, the market there,
Huge.
and then, of course, his dad's legacy. I mean, every single thing is under a microscope.
Which is exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at how fans reacted to something Bronny said after the season ended.
Okay.
We found this Yardbarker article, and it helpfully pulled together his quote and, well, a whole bunch of social media comments.
Right, okay. So the mission here is really to understand that whole range of reactions, the good, the bad.
And what it tells us about the kind of pressure these young guys are under, navigating their own careers.
Especially in his unique situation.
Exactly. Okay, so let's start with what Bronny actually said. This was from an interview, Spectrum Sportsnet, after they lost to the Timberwolves in the playoffs.
Right, end of season stuff.
Yeah, and they asked him about his confidence, how it changed from the start of the year.
Okay, and what did he say?
So his quote was, like you said, it was a huge difference in my confidence from start of the year. I would just say I was under a lot of pressure, and it was getting me a little bit.
Okay, acknowledging the pressure.
Yeah. Then he goes on, just having those games like the Bucks game, just having those games like that in the G League, just build my confidence every day and proving to me that I know what I can do. I'm ready to keep growing as a player.
So, sounds pretty standard, right? Felt pressure, got some game time, built confidence, wants to improve.
Seems totally reasonable.
Mhm.
Honest reflection on a rookie year.
But the reaction wasn't quite so simple.
Not even close. That Yardbarker piece really showed there was this significant backlash, a lot of critical comments, especially it seems on a Sporting News Instagram post.
Okay, so let's get into that criticism. What were people saying?
Well, one that jumped out from at Oh Boy Wayne was,
Mhm.
wasn't as close to half of what his father had to deal with. Stop complaining.
Wow, straight for the comparison.
Immediately. Just dismissing his feeling of pressure because, well, his dad is LeBron James.
It's fascinating, that tendency to, rank pressure as if you can only feel it if it hits some arbitrary super high level.
Right.
But isn't pressure, isn't it personal? What feels heavy to one person might not to another, regardless of who your dad is.
Totally subjective.
Yeah.
Then you had at Pat Chorlnicott chime in with, bro had zero pressure. No one expected anything notable from him.
Okay, so that's the flip side. Not comparing him, but just denying the pressure existed at all.
Yeah, saying because expectations weren't finals MVP level, there was no pressure.
Which kind of ignores the internal stuff, doesn't it? Like the pressure to just prove you belong, to carve out your own space when everyone sees you as LeBron's son. That's pressure, even if external expectations are maybe lower for a late pick.
Good point.
Yeah.
And someone else at Five Star Barber focused on playing time. Pressure. You was getting 2 minutes a game.
Ah, the opportunity argument. If you're not playing big minutes, you can't feel pressure.
That seems to be the logic.
But think about it. Getting only 2 minutes, doesn't that almost increase the pressure to make every single second count? To not mess up?
Yeah, maybe even more pressure in some ways. The margin for error feels tiny.
Exactly.
Then there were blunter ones, like at Feliz Gomez 113, just writing, bro ain't built for this.
Quick judgment.
Super quick. Based on one quote about feeling pressure early on, it shows how fast people, form these really strong opinions online.
Yeah, like they have the full picture from a few sentences.
Right. And at Jacobson brought in a different angle, quoting Shaq.
Oh, yeah. What was the quote?
Pressure's when you don't know where your next meal is coming from, Shaq.
Okay, so that's shifting the definition entirely. Pressure equals basic survival needs.
Which, look, is a valid perspective on, life-altering pressure.
Absolutely. A vital reminder of different realities.
Right.
But does citing that kind of invalidate other forms of pressure, like the psychological stress athletes feel? They're different things, but both can be significant in their own contexts.
Yeah, it's not really an either, is it?
Not really. And one more critical one.
Yeah, at Livex Times said, how you under pressure when you're on a guaranteed contract. Soft T. Bring in the money.
The financial security argument, if you're paid, you shouldn't feel pressure. Soft.
Yeah.
But that kind of misses the whole competitive drive, doesn't it? For a lot of these athletes, it's not just the paycheck. It's wanting to be great, wanting to compete, the fear of not meeting your own potential. That exists outside of the contract.
Absolutely. So, okay, that's a snapshot of the criticism.
Mm-hmm.
Downplaying his experience, comparing him, questioning
A
toughness.
lot to unpack there. But
Yeah.
thankfully, it wasn't all negative, right? The article mentioned supportive fans, too.
Yes, definitely. And it's important we look at that side. Someone like DMJ24 had a more grounded take. One of the best late second-round picks from the draft so far.
Okay, that's putting it in perspective, looking at where he was drafted.
Exactly. Which seems fair, right? You evaluate based on reasonable expectations for a 55th pick.
Makes sense. What else?
Just some straightforward encouragement, too.
Yeah.
Ed Gage Karen wrote, "Stand strong, Bronny, and continue to strive in your greatness. Simple support."
Nice. Sometimes that's all that's needed.
At Rangeman77700024 gave some practical advice. He's proven he's a good player. Just keep working hard and get as good as you can get. Nothing else matters. The outside noise is just BS, carries no value. Ignore it.
That's someone who gets it, gets the noise athletes deal with. Focus on your work, block out the rest.
Yeah, acknowledging that outside noise is a real factor.
Definitely.
And one more, at its selectionically, kind of called out the negativity itself.
Oh, yeah.
Wrote, "Y'all sound mean and miserable in these comments. I mean, you should be ashamed of yourself, Frank."
Oh, calling out the tone of the whole thing.
Yeah, pointing out the harshness that often comes out in these online fan pile-ons.
It brings it back to the human side, doesn't it? Easy to forget online you're talking about a real young person navigating a tough situation.
For sure. So, okay, let's step back a bit. We've seen this huge spectrum of reactions just from one honest comment. What are the big takeaways here?
Well, first, just the sheer intensity of opinions in pro sports. Everyone seems to have a hot take, and social media just, bam, puts it out there instantly.
Yeah, no filter sometimes.
And for Bronny specifically, you just can't ignore that unique dynamic. Trying to build your career while constantly being measured against, one of the greatest ever.
It's a shadow few athletes ever experienced.
Absolutely. And it really drives home that pressure is subjective. It's not this fixed thing. It depends on the person, their background, their own goals.
Right. What crushes one person might motivate another.
Exactly. And social media just pours gasoline on all of this, right? Amplifying both the cheers and the boos so quickly.
Makes you wonder about the environment we're creating for young talent, especially high-profile ones.
Yeah, are we actually helping them develop? Or is this constant demand for perfection and toughness maybe counterproductive?
It's a tough balance.
Yeah.
So wrapping this up, we've dived into these fan reactions to Bronny James talking about his rookie year, seen the criticism, seen the support.
Yeah, the whole spectrum. And it leaves us, and you listening, with something to think about, I reckon.
Which is?
In these high-stakes worlds, sports or anything else, how do we find that balance? Between, fair critique and understanding the personal struggle someone's going through under that public gaze.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe what does it even mean today in this online age to be, quote, built for pressure? Is that even a fair expectation?